Hare Krishna, and thank you everyone for joining today's session. Today morning around uh, today around 9 o'clock, Maharaj left this material world and entered the spiritual world to associate with Prabhupada, to associate with Lord Krishna. Nitya Leela Pravishkam. That's used. So some other service, probably some other important service that probably Prabhupada thought more fit for Maharaj than what he's doing right now. So it's been called for to the spiritual world and then maybe to another planet where another Krishna consciousness need to be spreaded, to be established, to be preached, and converted so many fallen souls to be touched and converted into devotees. Maharaj does that very expertly, did that very expertly throughout his life, and he will continue to do so for the service that he had. A very, very special relationship, very special bond for especially Hindu devotees. He spent a lot of time in Juhu, for Delhi devotees, in all India devotees. He's been one of the major initiating guru for Indian tradition and as well as international nature that he has been always spiritual vigorously in Russia, in many European countries, in America. So it's a great loss for all the devotee community. While we um, while we thought of what we can do for Maharaj's pleasure, and this is what we came up with. We should continue with the with our sessions to glorify Maharaj, to glorify Lord Krishna, to glorify Srila Prabhupada. And that is what gave him most pleasure. That he said in one of his message that and my medicine is not with the doctors. It's not lying in the equipments, the best medical equipments. It's not there in the best of hospitals. It's there with my devotees. All the devotees, if you choose to become a nice devotee, if you become, if you follow four regulative principles sincerely, honestly, if you chant sincerely, with commitment, with honesty, if you read Sri Prabhupada book, if you preach, serve in the mission in whatever best way you can, go out of your way to serve, all that, if you can do that, give pleasure to Maharaj. That wanted this mission to be spreaded all over India, all over the world. Every person in India can become a devotee, and every person in India has should be given an opportunity to go back to Krishna by introducing him to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Hare Krishna chanting. So that was his mission. He lived for his mission, and as he probably would have given in the service, Maharaj left us with his message, with his lectures, with his instructions, and it's up to us now to take it up very sincerely with commitment and follow everything, whatever he has told us to do, and then progress nicely in consciousness and give this message to everyone, all and everyone, to whatever best we can in that. So let's continue with the discussion of Sri Isopanishad. We are discussing Mitra 6. Let's take a quick overview of Isopanishad. It's a book Prabhupada wrote. Prabhupada didn't write this as a book, but he wrote series of articles on the Isopanishad verses, which later his disciples compiled and published as a book. So it was not per se written as a book, just like how we write Bhagavad Gita, that we start with the Bhagavad Gita, we sit with all the verses, 700 verses, and then we we take one verse at a time, right? Translation and purport, and that way we compile the book. But this book was not written like that. Prabhupada wrote series of articles which were published in Back to Order magazine at that time, and then his disciple thought it's a complete series. Everything is there, whatever is required, and then it can be published and compiled together and published as a book, and that's what we have, Sri Isopanishad book. Now, the Isopanishad per se has about 18 verses. We discussed very quickly, run through this. The invocation is not part of Isopanishad, but it's included there. And up to 3, invocation to mantra 3. We have the theme is live in harmony with Ishvara. If you don't, you will perish. You will suffer. You will, the worst kind of suffering that we can get is sat asat yoni janmasu. Purusham prakrutisto hi bhute prakriti jana gunan. Karana guna samvosya sat asat yoni janmasu. Continuously taking birth, repeated birth in the higher and lower species of life, Sat Asat Joni Janmasu, is the root cause, is the worst thing that can happen to us. And when that can happen, as long as we continue to act under the influence of 3 modes of material nature, we will continue to produce fruit for our actions. And for enjoying or suffering for those fruits, we will have to continue to accept, will be forced to accept the material bodies in the lower and higher species of life. The higher and lower species doesn't necessarily mean animal species and bird and the plant species. Within humans also, there are 4 lakh species of life within human race also. So it's not just, don't have to become animal to get demoted. You can become, if your activities are that colorful, you can potentially become an animal per se. But even if you don't become an animal, within humans also, you can get demoted, you can be degraded, and the upgradation and degradation is not dependent on how much money you have, how much education you get, how beautiful you look, how powerful you are. It depends on how much facility you have for practicing Krishna consciousness, how much inclination, understanding that you get while by reading scriptures. This is called so this is the facility, and lower this facility with anybody, more unfortunate that person, because lesser the chance that such person will take up to the Krishna consciousness, become nice devotee, and go back to Krishna. And so lower are the inclination to study scripture, lower humility, no humility, more pride, more envy, more anarthas present. Less is the possibility of us taking to the spiritual path and practicing it with commitment. So such persons will continue to suffer and take repeated birth in the different forms of life. So that's why uh, it is recommended. This author is recommending. Program is recommending. These verses are recommending that we should live in harmony with Ishwara. And Ishwara, for living, following somebody's instructions, for somebody, we want to live in harmony with Ishwara. Without knowing Ishwara, we cannot, how can we live in harmony with him? So we must get good understanding of Ishwara. We must understand Ishwara. We must know who this God is. We must have more information about him. But God is all spirit. We are all matter almost. We've forgotten our spiritual spark. So we, in the material world, we have material consciousness. We want to see things and to believe it. We want to measure things and we want to touch things. We want we don't have spiritual vision. We can't see things. We can't see spirit spark. We can't even imagine, realize about spiritual spark within our bodies. We also, most of us live life like as if we are body. We forget about our spiritual spark. What to speak about Krishna, the whole spirit, knowledge of him is missing in the world today. But so that knowledge one can get if one is able to develop spiritual vision. It's not our material intelligence will not give us knowledge about Krishna. Our logic with which we can understand many things in the world, that will not give us knowledge about Krishna. That will not help us in getting understanding of Krishna. If we understand Krishna, we don't have to take birth again. Just by understanding Krishna's activities, we don't have to take birth again on this material world. But to understand is very difficult. For that, we need a spiritual vision. So mantra 4 to 8 discuss how we can develop that spiritual vision. So mantra 9 to 11 talks about right and wrong vidya. And mantra 12 to 14 talks about right and wrong upasana, the worshipping the same Ishvara. Mantra 15 to 18, beautiful mantras. They are prayers, petitions to Ishvara to reveal himself to us. Ishvara is, so this book doesn't talk about who that Ishvara is, but it points to the fact that Ishvara is a person and you need to approach him. And a person is personal, person has preferences, a person can have likes and dislikes. So we should, so Ishvara, the God is not formless, not an entity which cannot reciprocate. It's a reciprocal Lord. So we need to have right attitude to go towards Lord, and then Lord can accordingly reciprocate with us. So we are currently discussing second section. The first section we concluded. That live in harmony with Ishvara, and we discussed beautiful verses there in that section. And now into second section. In second section, we have mantra 4, which we discussed last occasion. Last couple of occasion, we discussed mantra 4 and 5, and today we'll talk about mantra 6. Mantra 4 and 5 talked about attributes of Ishvara, which are confusing, which are contradicting, seemingly contradicting. It's a paradox. We can't understand how it is possible in the normal circumstances. If somebody says somebody is able to walk and somebody cannot walk, we will say it doesn't make sense. So these kind of attributes of Ishvara, prima facie, don't make sense. But at a deeper level, they reveal omniscient Ishvara, they reveal omnipotent Ishvara, they reveal omnipresent Ishvara. Omnipresent means he is one who is present everywhere. Omniscient is one who knows everything, and omnipotent is one who can do anything. And Ishvara, with his energies, he is everywhere, he can do anything, and he knows everything. He is full in knowledge. And we are full with ignorance. Opposite of knowledge is ignorance, and we are full with ignorance. Ishvara is full with knowledge. So the mantra 4 says that although fixed in his abode, personality of Godhead is swifter than mind and can overcome all running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply air, air and rain, and he surpasses all in excellence. He surpasses all in excellence. Mattah Parataram na anyad kinchidasti dhananjaya. Krishna says in the 7th chapter that there is no one equal to or greater than me, superior to me. So I surpasses all in intelligence. So mantra 5 we discuss. Our Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but yet he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. So this was a paradoxical verse that we discussed in our last session, and we spoke about the various ways in which we can, when we go deeper to analyze the verse, we can make sense of what is happening here. And there we understand that when we say God is far, God exists in the 3 forms, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Now, all 3 are Krishna's energies. I mean, Krishna exists in all 3 levels, and everything is Krishna. Brahman is Krishna, Paramatma is Krishna, and Bhagwan, as a Bhagwan, he is residing in spiritual world with his devotees performing pastime. Even that is Bhagwan. And it's a progressive understanding of the same absolute truth. We are still looking at the same person, but in a progressive way. So where there is Brahman, uh, there is the omniscient, the omnipresent form of Brahman, and the Paramatma is in the heart of each living entity, is the Paramatma feature, uh, and the Bhagavan is complete whole, complete Bhagavan, and like that, when he can do anything, he's present everything at the same time he's present in his abode. So therefore, uh, yet some people may argue that he's a formless because he's present everything. We cannot put him a picture. We cannot, but he can choose to manifest in form of a deity, and that's what we discussed in the last session. That how Krishna can become a deity, and as a deity, uh, if those who say that Krishna is formless, the God is formless, the ultimate truth, the absolute truth is formless, and therefore you cannot put him, ascribe him to a deity, a small deity or a small picture, is limiting potencies of the Supreme Lord. If Lord is truly supreme, if God is omnipotent, he can do anything, then he can choose to manifest as a small deity as well at his will, which means, if a truly omnipotent God, a truly most powerful God, can easily convert matter into spirit and spirit into matter, because both are his energies. There's nothing in this creation that exists which does not have Krishna's, which is not Krishna's energy. So Krishna, in form of this, expanded this material world as a, the whole material world comes out of his energy. So there's in this world there is nothing except Krishna. And living entities are his marginal potencies, and then there is a Tathastha, there is an internal potency that he has, which he chooses to cover himself. He does not reveal himself to those who are foolish people. So that way, Krishna functions at all times, and those who cannot understand him, we need to go deep. We need to have proper vision to make sense of this. So these verses, the verse 4 and 5 that we discuss, require special need spiritual vision. And so we read those, we understand this purpose through the, we understand these verses through the purpose written by Srila Prabhupada, and classes given by our senior acharyas, senior devotees, senior sannyasis. But otherwise, it is impossible for anyone to make sense out of these verses unless they have Krishna Kripa, unless they have been given additional intelligence by Krishna. Dadami buddhi yoga yena mam prayantite. To understand Krishna, we need additional intelligence, and we get additional intelligence based on our 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 committed bhakti that we perform. He gives that such additional intelligence to only to his devotees, and only that. Therefore, bhaktamam abhijanati, which says in the 18th chapter, we'll discuss that verse today, that I can only be known by my bhaktans, because if if you only my devotees are able to perform bhajatam priti purvakam, they can love me, they can lovingly perform devotional service to me, and seeing them do that, I give them additional intelligence. So anybody who is not willing to perform loving devotional service in a loving attitude, service attitude, will not get additional intelligence by Krishna, and which means he will not understand Krishna, which means he cannot come back to Krishna, because those who cannot understand Krishna cannot surrender to Krishna, and therefore those who cannot surrender to Krishna, we cannot we cannot go back to Krishna. So that's a paradox that we have. So let's discuss this verse. I'll try and speak. I'll try and reconnect the mic. Hopefully that should work. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna. Is this better, Vaishnava? Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, the mantra 6 we'll discuss. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanye iva anupashyati sarva bhuteshu chata cha atmanam tatona vijita tatona vijugup gupsate tatona vijugupsate. So, yastu sarvani bhutani. Now the translation goes that he who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, he who systematically seeing, this is the attribute that is being discussed. The see everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, everything in relation with the Supreme Lord, who see all living entities as his part and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. So the two things I've talked about. One is seeing the material world with spiritual eyes, seeing everything and in connection with Krishna. The seventh chapter, eight, seventh chapter, eighth chapter, 10th chapter, uh, Vibhuti. Krishna speak about Vibhuti Yoga, and the 10th chapter is titled as Vibhuti Yoga. It talks about various Vibhutis. Krishna says, all that is me. In the seventh chapter, he starts by speaking about Rasoham Apsukanteya, that the taste in water is me, and go on continue explaining to Arjuna that how everything that one can see, feel, touch, perceive in this material world, in this entire creation, is nothing but extended energy, separated energy of Krishna. And Krishna, as a separated energy, is present everywhere, and so everything is nothing but Krishna. So those who say we want to see God, I mean, everything has been created by Krishna, maintained by Krishna, and destroyed by Krishna. So we, whatever we see in front of us, is an extension of is nothing but energy of Krishna, separated energy of Krishna. So that is for the material world. That is for the creation. What about living entities? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that 15 chapter 7 verse Krishna says Mamaiva Ansho Jiva Loke, very clear that all living entities are separated part and parcel of Krishna, separated particles of Krishna. Just like uh, a drop comes out of ocean, has all the qualities of Krishna, has qualities of the ocean, but in a very, very small quantity. Similarly, all the living entities have have all the qualities, not all, but almost 80% of the qualities. Prabhupada write in the purport of seventh verse that almost 80% of the qualities living entities can also develop in themselves that are possessed by Krishna. But but in the quantity they are very, very tiny. Therefore, all of them, none of them can become Bhagavan, none of them can become Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord remains Supreme Lord. And Krishna says, Mamam Amsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. They will always remain parts. They cannot become whole. They will never become God. So we have a role. Krishna has his role and we have our role. Our role is to serve the whole, the serve the Lord. And in that way, Krishna, that is our constitutional position. That Jivera Swarupa Hoye Nityera Krishna Das. That we have to love and serve Krishna. That is our perpetual position. The service can take various forms. Glorifying Krishna is his service. Reading Krishna book is his service. Reading Bhagavad Gita, trying to understand Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, that is service to Krishna. Preaching is service to Krishna. Making calls to devotees to come and join Bhagavad Gita session is a service to Krishna. Various way Krishna can be served. Opening new temple is a service to Krishna. So do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. When we see everything in connection with Krishna, we can accept Krishna as our authority. We can become very humble. We can become very submissive to Krishna, knowing his prowess, knowing his ownership and control over this entire creation, knowing that we are all his separated part, and our best, our happiest moments are when we are connected with Krishna, when we are serving Krishna. So when one get to that position, how can such person hate anything or hate anybody? So such person will always become Mahatma. He can become Mahatma very easily. We look at the purport. In the purport, Prabhupada talks about Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. We will see these three concepts with reference to specific verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11 canto, second chapter, 45, 46, 47 verses. So we'll see it with reference to those what Prabhupada has spoken in the purport, and then oneness, false or real. Should we differentiate, or should we consider everything as one? Because if we want to see everything spiritually, currently we have material eyes, and we are not able to see things properly. Within devotees also, are all devotees same, or they can be different, or all can we all the living entities are same? Should we treat all living entities as same? Because Krishna is present, all living entities have soul present in them, so they are separated part and parcel of Krishna. Super soul is also present. Next verse we'll talk about that, as which means Krishna is also present. So Uttamadhikari see only the super soul in the living entities. So they say they are already realized souls. So should we then treat everyone as Krishna, as good as Krishna's pure devotees, or should we differentiate in people? Should we how can we use this material world for whatever is in our control for the service of Krishna? So these are the aspects that we will talk about. So in broadly speaking, people can be divided into the four categories: materialist, Mayavadi, Sahajiyas, and devotees. A materialist typically has material sense enjoyment, has attachment to the material sense enjoyment, and they are typically detached from Krishna. However, a materialist will progress from this stage to become a devotee. As when he get introduced to Krishna consciousness, all of us, when we got introduced to Krishna consciousness, we had this position. We to a great degree we can still count ourselves as materialist only, because we still have not been able to give up all our material desires for material sense enjoyment. We still want to eat good food. We still want soft bed for sleeping. Even if none of those are immoral or unethical or illegal, they still show our attachment to the sense gratification, to the material pleasures. So they are called Prakruta Bhakta. Prakriti is material world. Material nature is called Prakriti. And so Prakruta Bhakta, they are attached to the material pleasures that one derives by manipulating the matter. Yeah. People are also made up of matter. When we have physical relationship between man opposite sex, it's a material relationship. It's not. It's one. Both of them have to believe that they are bodies. They are not soul, and therefore they have a relationship to enjoy the other person's body. So it's a materialist worldview who is attached to the sense enjoyment, and they're detached from Krishna. When we get introduced to Krishna consciousness, this detachment gets converted into the attachments in a slow, progressive way. Doesn't happen overnight, but but that is the progression that a materialist will experience from being a materialist to becoming a devotee. Then we have a section called Mayavada. Mayavadis try to become detached from material sense enjoyment, but they're also detached from Krishna, thinking that the God is ultimately formless. One has to go beyond form. Krishna could be a form intermediary object of my love and devotion, but he is not ultimate object, because I have to go beyond form and go towards the formless. That's a false conception. Prabhupada was preaching heavily against the Mayavadi concepts. Mahaprabhu advised us not to hear any Mayavada Bhashya, and he would close his ear saying that it's a sinful to hear that here this is blaspheming Krishna, and one should not hear anybody blaspheming Krishna. One should not stand. One should immediately, either if it is in one's power, one should immediately stop that blasphemy. If it is not in our power, we should just leave that place. We just should cover our ears and we should leave that place. But we shouldn't listen to the blasphemy of Lord Krishna. And this is calling Krishna, who has a beautiful, most attractive form, calling him a formless, uh, absolute truth as formless, that is more, there's no bigger criticism of Krishna than calling him formless. So Mayavadas does that kind of activity, and hence one is um, extremely big. One has to be extremely careful to follow anybody, because unless we know which parampara they belong to, we shouldn't be running behind anyone, even though no matter how famous they are on the social media, or how often they appear in the news or on your television or on your favorite Instagram account or whatever. You might be, you must have heard them, you must be liking them, your friends like them, your papa like them, your boyfriend like them, girlfriend like them. No matter who uh, who those people are, how famous, how big those people are, or if we conclude that their their conclusions are Mayavada conclusions, be we should not pay attention to them. We should not hear them speak. If possible, we should preach them about the personal aspect of Krishna consciousness. But if it is not in our power, we should just move away from them. Worst than Mayavadas are Sahajyas. They are attached to material sense enjoyment and they are attached to Krishna. So they Sahajya, we don't get to see a lot of this category, but Bengal was famous for Sahajyas. They used to imitate Krishna's pastimes. Uh, by calling them that the Krishna and Lord Krishna has entered into their body, and Radharani has entered into some other female devotee's body, and now they are performing pastimes, saying that Krishna and Radha wants to enjoy these pastimes through their bodies, and all kind of immoral activities used to happen. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he was propagating Krishna consciousness, Sahajiyas were very prominent in Bengal at that time, and he had to fight a war against these Sahajiyas. And so they are the ones who would carry bead bag in one hand and fish in another hand, saying that it's all okay. And they degraded bhakti to a great degree, and brought a lot of bad name for the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, which was so glorious before that. And the entire credit of revival of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement goes to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who single-handedly fought against the Sahajas, used his intelligence, used his position, wrote wrote many books, many places he spoke, wrote, and he preached fearlessly. He wrote so many beautiful poems, and so many beautiful Vaishnava songs to counter attack on the Sajya mentality. So he was the object of hate by the Sahajas, but he could easily survive and become victorious in this battle because Krishna was on his side and he preached the parampara. He preached from the parampara. Uh, the Sahaja is whereas their philosophy is driven by material sense enjoyment. It's not parampara, but they have some attachment to Krishna also to on their wedding. The last community is the devotee community, the bhakta. Now, bhakta are pure at their pure stage. A pure devotee is detached to material sense enjoyment, and then they are attached to Krishna. Unless you become detached from matter, it is impossible for you to not use that matter for your own gratification, for your own pleasure. So when devotees, pure devotee, become detached from matter, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam, va jagadisha kamaya. When they have no such desires left in them, and they just say that Bhagavad Bhakti Ahituki, I want to just perform Ahituki Bhakti at your lotus feet, O Lord. And then they petition the Lord that please lift me from the material consciousness to the spiritual consciousness. Now, such pure devotees have no desire to use, even if they are given the wealth of this world, the entire wealth of this world, they will use it for Krishna service. Now they are not they're not attached to the wealth. They're not attached to the benefits that they can get out of that wealth. And they're not attached to, they don't have any desires to fulfill. If at all such wealth is given, because they don't have any of that, uh, their their actions are they can use they can use the resources of the world for the service of Krishna. This is Yukta Vairagya that Prabhupada explains at many places, that Yukta Vairagya is not to give up the material resources. Yukta Vairagya is to when you are detached, when you don't have attachment to the sense gratification, and what then in that case, whatever resources are at your um, that you possess, you can use them for serving Krishna in various way, in any way. And then because they are attached to Krishna, they can do this. And they have to be detached, pure devotee stage. You are definitely detached on material sense. Now let's see how how the three levels of devotees they manifest. The Prakruta Bhakta, that is Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. These are the three levels at which we will discuss. We'll take these three verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, which speaks specifically about these three categories of devotees. So, Acharya Meva Haraye Pujam Yah Shraddhaya Hate न तद भक्तेषु न चान्येषु न तद भक्तेषु चान्येषु स भक्तः प्राकृतः स्मृतः. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards the other devotees or people in general is called a prakruta bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. Now we will be talking about adhikar, adhikari, uttama adhikari, madhyama adhikari. So what does this adhikar means? Now in English translation of this word adhikar, which is Sanskrit word, it means authority. It's a very important concept in Vedic theology, Vedic scriptures. Now authority, one has some kind of an authority, and that's what adhikar means. A father has authority over his children. He can give directions to his children. He should give directions to his children and his family members because he has the authority. He has adhikar. Similarly, so this adhikar, how one gets that adhikar? So example is given that a Brahmana has authority to study scripture. And Brahmana is who is Brahmana? One may argue that if anybody is born in the family of Sharma, Mishra, and so on and so forth, are they all Brahmanas? Should they be considered as Brahmanas? Answer is yes and no. No, because these are Brahminical surnames, these are Brahminical last names, and traditionally, if we have followed the Varnashram properly, then any child taking birth in a Brahminical family will have Brahminical qualities from birth. However, because of the mixing and matching of the matrimonial pairing, matrimonial pairing has been mixed and matched so much that that purity is lost. Which means a child taking birth in a Brahminical family may or may not have Brahminical qualities at all. And hence nobody should be considered as a Brahmana or of any caste unless we have looked at their qualities and qualifications. So based on their qualities and qualifications, only the classification, the inclinations, the desires that they possess, only then we can conclude if one is a Brahminical quality, has Brahminical quality, or don't have Brahminical quality. So that adhikara is earned. It's not a static concept that by birth, if you are born with this last name, then you don't have any adhikara to become a pure devotee. So that is not the case. Anyone and everyone has equal opportunity to become pure devotees. So Krishna is impartially giving everyone, all of us, an opportunity to become a pure devotee. No matter in which kula we have taken birth, no matter what is our last name, no matter which is the color of our skin, no matter what is the country of our birth, each and every living entity, especially the human living entity, has equal opportunity, should be given equal opportunity to become pure devotee of Krishna and to study scriptures, to study Bhagavad Gita, to study Srimad Bhagavatam, to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and go back to Krishna in this lifetime itself. It's not driven by any other pre-qualification. So all of us, no matter where which kulla we have born, which region we have born, which religion we have born to, all of us has equal opportunity and equal responsibility to become Krishna conscious and go back to Krishna. So it's a dynamic, it's based on our activity. Prabhupada writes in the purport that Kanishta Adhikari is in the lowest stage of realization. He goes to a place of worship, such as a temple, church, mosque, according to his religious faith, and worship there according to spiritual injunctions. Devotees in this stage consider the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. They cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service, nor can they tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. Such devotees follow routine formulas and sometimes quarrel amongst themselves that considering one type of devotion better than another. These Kanishta Adhikaris are actually materialistic devotees who are simply trying to transcend the material boundary to reach the spiritual plane. So these devotees, they go to temple, they are worshipping Krishna, they can worship the deity according to their faith, but but they are but they don't have any relationship with the devotees. That's bhakti sanjayate bhakti. With bhakti, in association of devotees, our bhakti grows, which means if we are not in association of devotees, if we are not recognizing the roles of devotee in our life, in our spiritual life especially, we cannot become a much advanced devotee. One may go to a temple and one may think that it's this Kanishta Adhikari thinks that it's a relationship between they and Lord. I am here, Lord is here, and it's between me and Lord. I don't care about anybody else. There could be pujaris, there could be devotees, somebody's preaching about talking about Bhagavad Gita, somebody's reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, somebody's trying to explain Chaitanya Charitamrita, somebody trying to open a temple, somebody is trying to encourage me to read regularly, somebody is trying to feed people with prasad, anudan. I'm oblivious to all that. I just don't care about all that noise. I consider all that to be noise. I said, me and my Lord. Now that is not a, and one may consider oneself to be very advanced by thinking like that, that I don't care about it. Now, anyone who is not able to care for devotees, he is not able to progress. He cannot progress much in bhakti. So, so these devotees really remain at a Kanishta level for a long, long time unless they are hello, Hare Krishna. Sorry for the interruption. So these devotees, so we are all at this level, Kanishta Adhikari. And so Prabhupada wanted all of us, every one of us, to at least move to the Madhyama Adhikari. So we'll talk about Madhyama Adhikari now. So Madhyama Adhikaris are explained in the verse 11 canto, second chapter, 46th verse. Ishvare taddineshu palisheshu dvishatsu cha prema maitri krupa upeksha yah karati sa madhyamah. An intermediate or second class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari, offer his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord. Show mercy to ignorant people who are innocent and discourages, disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the difference between Kanishta and Madhyama is the reciprocation that one does with the devotees, interaction that one is able to do with the devotees that determines if we are at a Kanishta level or a Madhyama level. One is able to faithfully, lovingly serve Lord. Now that is the indication that we are translated at the Madhyama level. So Madhyamadikari observes the distinctions between the four categories of being. One is the Supreme Lord. Second, devotees of the Lord. Third, the innocents who have no knowledge of Lord. And but this third category of people are inquisitive about Lord. They may not have a know, they may not know anything, but they at least inquisitive about Lord. They want to know about Lord. And the fourth is the atheist type of people who have no faith in Lord and hate those in the devotional service, hate those who are performing devotional service also. So Prabhupada writes in the purport further that Madhyama Adhikari behaves differently towards these four classes of person. He adores the Lord, considering him the object of love. He makes friends with those who are in devotional service. He tries to awaken the dormant love of God in the heart of the innocent, and he avoid the atheist who deride the very name of the Lord. So that's a Madhyama Adhikari. Prabhupada wanted all of us to at least reach the Madhyama Adhikari stage, if not Uttama Adhikari. But definitely we have to move up from the Kanishta Adhikari. And to do that, we should be in association of devotees. We should be seeking association from devotees. And we should know the role of devotee in our life. We should have devotees in our life who can whom we should give authority to scold us if in case we become lazy in the performance of Krishna consciousness activities, lazy in getting up early in the morning, lazy in reading scriptures and posting updates on the groups, uh, or become too attached to material sense enjoyment, become go frequently out of our way to for the pleasure of our relatives, friends, family members who are non-devotees to do what they are doing. So if we do that too much, too often, eventually we will develop desires to do the same things. And then as our material desires will grow, our spiritual inclinations will come down. So, so, so these devotees should have authority to pull us up and back into Krishna consciousness. Tell us that we are doing this is we are crossing lines. Tell us we are doing this too much. So these devotees, without devotees, it is impossible for somebody like me at least to become a devotee and remain a devotee for a long time. So devotee mercy, by their mercy, they help us. They push our vehicle of Krishna consciousness ahead, forward. Every time they see us becoming lazy, becoming relaxed, becoming slow, becoming giving too many excuses, they can pull us up. And if we don't have such devotees in our life, we should consider ourselves very unfortunate because then what we have won? We have won nothing. We might be having a lot of wealth, uh, considered to be most intelligent person in our community or in our office, but we are most useless person if we don't have such devotees in our life who can scold us for not being attentive in Krishna consciousness, who can scold us for showing less commitment in performing devotional service. So that is what should be praying to have. This is our biggest possession. The 45th verse actually talks about Uttama Adhikari. We went in the opposite reverse order because Prabhupada gives this order in this particular purpose. So start with Kanishta, go to Madhyama, and then talk about Uttama. So this is the conversation of Havir, Shri Havir Vacha, Sarva Bhuteshu Yaha Pashed, Bhagavata Ava Atmanaha, Bhutani Bhagavatya Atmanya Ashesha Bhagavata Uttamam. Ashesha Bhagavata Uttamam. Sri Havir says the most advanced devotee see within everything the soul of all souls, the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understand that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. So, Uttama Adhikari sees whether he's looking at people or he's looking at the things of this world, only thing he sees is the is the Ansha of a supreme personality of Godhead. So he see everything as supreme Lord. Everything is being connected with supreme Lord. So such person cannot hate anything because he is in love with that supreme Lord. And when he see that Lord everywhere, everything in connection with that Lord, he just cannot help help. He just cannot hate anybody. For such a person, there is no illusion and no shoka. Shoka means lamentation. This will be covered in the seventh verse that for such a person, since a Brahma Bhuta stage, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Shoshkati, Anshati, where you go to that stage where there is no lamentation, no Shochati, no Kankshati, and there are no desires left for sense gratification. Now, such a pure stage, you just can't hate anyone. You just can't dislike anyone. So, uh, so that is the stage of Uttama Adhikari. Let's see what Prabhupada writes. Uttama Adhikari, who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, such a devotee does not discriminate between an a theist, but see everyone as part and parcel of God. Now, he has equal vision to see everything as one. This is the theme that we will be discussing subsequently. And there are many verses in Bhagavad Gita which says that which talks about this equal vision in multiple ways, especially in the sixth chapter, the that where Krishna says that uh, a pure devotee and a dog eater, a sinful person, we see equally. Now, how can we see somebody like who is a murderer and one who is got a Bharat Ratna? These two personalities equal. It's like seeing both of them equally. How can a senior Uttamathikari look at them and think they are equal? What way they are equal? How they are equal and how they are different? And that is the theme that Prabhupada has discussed in the rest of the purpose. The Prabhupada writes further that such a devotee does not discriminate between atheist and theist, but see everyone as part and parcel of God. He knows that there is no essential difference between a vastly learned Brahmana and a dog in the street, because both of them are part and parcel of the Lord. Although they are engaged in different bodies on account of the different qualities of their activities in the previous life. So according to their respective activities in the previous births, they have been allotted certain type of body. So one is in the body of a Brahmana and performing devotional service, uh, demonstrating his Brahminical qualities of Shama, Dama, that mind control, sense control, uh, Shama, Dama, and the various qualities which are described in the 42nd verse, beautiful qualities, Shama, Dama, Tapa, that is performing austerity, then Jnana, one cultivation of knowledge, Vijnana, one has realized that knowledge, just doesn't have theoretical knowledge, but actually has practiced sadhana and realized that knowledge. Shama, one is able to be forgiving. Shanti, one is always peaceful. Arzava, one is very worth to speak in a very petitioned way. Very beautiful qualities that are described, which are called Brahminical qualities. Now, none of those qualities are present in today's Brahmana, so no need to check or do a self check. But devotees possess these qualities. So, no matter what is their last name, irrespective of that, a devotee, when they advance, they possess these qualities very much, very well, and they not only possess, they demonstrate these qualities to everyone, and that's how they they can be distinguished from the rest of the society. So, a pure devotee, or the Uttama Adhikari, sees everything equally. Now he sees that Brahmana particle of the Supreme Lord has not misused his little independence given to him by Lord, and that dog particle has misused his independence and is therefore being punished by the laws of nature by being encaged in the form of a dog. So, how one gets one body, how one gets a dog body, and how one gets a Brahmana body and perform nice devotional service. Everything happens because of the activities, our activities, the karana manusangosya sata asata yoni jannasyu. So, based on our activities, we are given suitable bodies by the material nature. Now, encaged, the cage is as if one is put into the cage. The soul has been locked up into a dog's body because of the bad activities. As a punishment, one goes into a dog body. And as a reward, one gets a Brahminical body, where one can get opportunity to perform devotional service and go back to Krishna. So that's a reward, and this is a punishment. And why one gets punished, why one get rewarded? Because of their respective activities. Prabhupada writes beautifully that it's a misuse of little independence. Brahmana, the soul in Brahmana body has not misused, has properly used was his independence, and a dog in the soul in the dog's body has misused his independence, as a result of which he is now being punished. So very beautifully Prabhupada writes. So anybody, when you see a beggar begging on the street in a very miserable condition, and so you should know that he has worked hard by misusing his little independence to do such colorful activities that Krishna, the material nature, had to give him this kind of a body and this kind of a suffering. So it should not be any surprise to anyone when one sees some miserable condition of people, and it's all happening due to the colorful activity, colorful past that all of those have had. So one should still do one's part, one should still do one's duty towards them, but one should also understand why it's happening to them. Not be just uh, not just become sentimentally overwhelmed that God is bad. But that's typically how it leads to when you see small children with cancer or AIDS affected children. One may get overwhelmed by the thoughts that God has been so cruel. Why? What? Um, what sins these small souls have done? What is and that they've been punished in such a miserable condition? Because most of them will not even see their most of them might not be even alive for their 15th birthday. In the first 15 years of life, one may have to depart and leave their bodies due to this terrible disease. So, so on and so forth. So one should know why what is happening, whatever is happening, why it is happening. When we know the reason behind it, we don't get caught up in dualities. We don't get caught up in um, emotional outburst that happens by a lot of people who don't understand anything, and we don't get misled by their emotional outburst uh, about the cruelty of and they make God responsible for that. No, we must learn to take personal responsibility of our own activities and the result of those activities as well. But not doing so, we're not helping ourselves. Prabhupada writes further in the purport that not considering the respective actions of the Brahmana and the dog, Uttama Adhikari tries to do good to both. Such a learned devotee is not misled by material bodies, but is attracted to the spiritual spark within them. Those who imitate an Uttama Adhikari by flaunting a sense of oneness or fellowship, but who behave on a bodily platform are actually false philanthropist. Now we'll talk about philanthropy later in greater detail, but Prabhupada writes that the humanitarianism, We have, we have habit of collecting people and bring them on one platform and see how all of us are one. As Indians, we are all one. As Maharashtrians, we can consider ourselves, there should be unity amongst all Maharashtrians, among all Gujaratis, among all Tamilians, amongst all Bengalis, and so on and so forth. So any any ism that we follow, humanitarianism or animalism or whatever, we may follow, and at a bodily level based on bodily differences. At a bodily platform, whatever we behave, we try to bring oneness at a bodily level. It will be, this is called false oneness. Then what is the right oneness? That we will discuss in the subsequent purpose. Prabhupada writes that the conception of the universal brotherhood must be learned from the Uttamadhikari and not from foolish person who does not properly understand the individual soul or the Supreme Lord's super soul's expansion who dwells everywhere. It is clearly mentioned in this sixth mantra that one should observe or systematically see. This means that one must follow the previous acharyas, the perfected teachers. Anupashyati is the exact Sanskrit used in this connection. Anu means to follow, and Pashyati means to observe. Thus, the word Anupashyati means that one should not see things as he does with the naked eyes, but one should follow the previous acharyas. So, Prabhupada will use the word Shastra Chakshu, or seeing through the knowledge given by previous acharyas, and where that knowledge is given, that knowledge is given in form of books. So one should read the books, one should understand Bhagavad Gita written by Sri Prabhupada, which is based on again previous acharya commentaries. And then one should try and make sense of the things of this world. Due to material defect, the naked eye cannot see anything properly. One cannot see properly unless one has heard from a superior source, and the highest source is the Vedic wisdom, which is spoken by the Lord Himself. And Prabhupada is referring to Bhagavad Gita. So Vedic truths are coming in disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, and from Brahma to Narada, and from Narada to Vyasa, and from Vyasa to many of his disciples. Formerly, there was no. Prabhupada confirms that why they were not. It was known as Shruti Purana. Why it was known as Shruti? Because there was, people had lot of intelligence. People had more intelligence and had sharper memories, so they could recollect everything. But later, as the Kali Yuga was to come, and Vyasadeva knew that the people in Kali Yuga will have lesser life, lesser memories, and very short memories, lesser intelligence and short memories. So then that's why he documented this Vedic wisdom and the Itihasas, the Puranas, the Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, the Ramayana, everything got documented at that time, and then that's how it's been passed on to us in a disciplined succession, generation after generation. So Prabhupada writes that they could follow the instructions simply by hearing once from the mouth of bona fide spiritual master. Now that was the old process. That this process doesn't apply today. Shruti is not applicable today. That's why Smriti. Smriti is what gets documented. And then we read those documented purports, verses and purports, and get purified, have the same effect. So it's not a new information. It's just the information which was earlier presented by just hearing, received only by oral reception or hearing, or now is one can read also. So there is an extra layer is added, considering the shorter intelligence and shorter memory of the people in the current age. At present, there are many commentaries on the revealed scriptures, but most of them are not in the line of disciplic succession coming from Srila Vyasadeva, who originally compiled the Vedic wisdom. The final, the most perfect and sublime work by Srila Vyasadeva is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta is Veda Anta. Anta means at the end, what are the conclusions of all the four Vedas? Now, that is commentary given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Vedeshcha Sarver Aham Eva Vedya. The purpose of studying all the Vedas, all the Vedic wisdom, is to know who I am. Aham eva Vedya. Veda, just knowing me is the ultimate purpose of Veda. So if anyone who knows Krishna is has got the benefit of studying all the Vedas, because that's the purpose of studying all Vedas anyway. Yomam evam samudho janati purushottamam. So sarva vida bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. So after the prior two verses, Lord speak about the Vedic wisdom. What is the conclusion of Vedic wisdom? And then he says the conclusion is to know him as Purushottama. From him the whole creation has happened. So he is the supreme personality of Godhead. And if one knows this, Yomam evam samudho janati Purushottama, sa sarva vida bhajati ma. Knowing is not enough. One has to start worshipping that supreme Purushottama, supreme Lord, supreme person of Godhead with sarva vida, all your heart, all one's heart and one's emotions. One has to start worshipping that Krishna, and one has to surrender to him completely. So, so there is also Prabhupada right further. There is also the Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by the Lord Himself and recorded by Vyasdeva. So these are the most important revealed scriptures, and any commentary that contradicts the principles of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is unauthorized. This is the most important statement, that which are the most important revealed scriptures. So when they argue that I have not studied Vedas, I don't have time, and I will not be able to understand Vedas also. So what should I do? Prabhupada writes, those don't worry. Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita are the most important scriptures, because they contain conclusion of all the Vedic wisdom. And if one studies these two, it is sufficient for them to go back to Krishna. Nothing else is required. So so that's why Prabhupada is saying that, but not all commentaries of Srimad Bhagavad Gita come to the same conclusion. So one has to be very careful that one is reading the scripture, one is hearing a person who is speaking from parampara, who belongs to parampara, and evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. So kale neham hata yogo nashta parempata. Lord Krishna says in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita that evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. So all these rajarshis have learned this knowledge in the parampara. They can't sit under a banyan tree and become enlightened overnight. Nobody gets that kind of a knowledge. If anybody claims to have that kind of knowledge, he's bogus, he's false guru. And so one has to be very careful as to who we are following, what kind of a philosophy what we are following. Whoever we may be listening to need to be in the parampara. Then only that is authorized speaking. And by hearing from such person, by reading from such parampara book, we can benefit. So let's take a look at the verses. So we want to understand the revealed scripture from the revealed scriptures, that how Bhagavad Gita is perfect. So we don't have to go beyond Bhagavad Gita to understand anything. To get the Shastra Chakshu, to get our eyes, get that spiritual vision. And to get to do that, we need to follow a pattern. We need to follow pattern of the original listener. We need to do what original listener did. When he heard Bhagavad Gita, what was his reaction? What were the ultimate instructions given to him? The final instructions given to him, and how he responded. And if you are able to do that, which means then we're getting right knowledge. Our source of knowledge is correct. And when we practice based on that source of right knowledge, we progress. We progress to develop equal vision. We'll talk about that equal vision more detail in the 7th verse next Sunday. But let's understand uh, which are those instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, which are the final, which we can consider to be the final most important instructions of Bhagavad Gita, and based on which we have to understand how Arjuna understood those instructions. and what was his, how he confirmed, what was his position after listening to these beautiful instructions. So we'll study some few verses. We'll not study, we'll chant these few verses from 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Uh, hopefully, they're so beautiful verses. We'll not go into the translations, but we'll just chant the verses. So, Brahma bhutah prasannatma na shochati na kamshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. Now this is what we are talking about. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu, one who is equal to everyone. And sarvashu bhuteshu, so bhuteshu means all the living entities and everything. So such person, madbhaktim labhate param, one Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kamshati. Once you get situated at a stage in your by performing devotional service, that there is no more desire and no more lamentations. Now such person becomes eligible to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Krishna says further that Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavanya Chasmi Tatvataha Tato Mam Tatvato Gyatva Vishate Tadanantaram. That one understand me as I am, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Such a beautiful verse. 1856. Sarva karmanya api sada purvano madabhaksharaha mad prasadat avapnoti shashvatam padamuktam. Though engage in all kind of activities. Now, one need not elevate from a Shudra to Vaishya to Kshatriya to Brahmana to become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. Wherever you are situated, Varnashram is such a beautiful concept that Krishna introduced that allows anybody to, whoever at whichever stage, to engage in the devotional service. So a Shudra can also become a pure devotee and enter into the kingdom of Godhead without becoming a Brahman. There's no, Shudra is is a stage where he, based on his the psychophysical inclinations, he's engaging particular type of activity where there is no conflict, which he is able to do properly, earn his living, and then he is free to do bhakti. He can become pure devotee. He can understand science of Krishna consciousness and become pure devotee and go back to Krishna from the Shudra body. A Vaishya can do that. A Kshatriya can do that, and a Brahmana can do that. Sarva karmanya api sada. So sarva karmanya api sada. Though engaged in all kind of activities, my pure devotees. So my pure devotees can be doing Shudra activities. My pure devotees can be doing Vaishya activities. My pure devotees can be doing Kshatriya activities like Arjuna. And my pure devotees can be doing Brahmanical activities like Sri Prabhupada. Wherever my pure devotee is, he can reach the eternal imperishable abode by my grace. Mats prasadat avapnoti shashvatam padamavyayam. Why he gets Krishna's grace? Because he's performing the Bhaktamam Abhijanati. Machitta sarva durgani mat prasadat parishyati athachatva na ahankara na shoshashi vinakshashi. Another beautiful verse. Now, these are the final instructions given by Lord to Arjuna before concluding 18th chapter. We have all discussed these verses, so this is just a recap for us. So, the oneness that Isopanishad is talking about comes with this knowledge. When one is fixed in this knowledge, that machitta sarva durmani prasada tarishati, that if you become conscious of me, machitta sarva durmani, you will pass through sarva durmani, all kind of obstacles you will pass through. Mat prasada tarishati, by my grace you will cross over all kind of obstacles in your life. When if you become conscious of me, however, on the contrary, on the contrast, athachetva ahankaran, because of your ahankar, if you no shoshasi, if you don't listen to me, vinakshasi, Vinakshasi means you will get destroyed. All your plans will get destroyed. Whoever who is not following the instructions given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, their Vinakshasi is guaranteed. Whichever path. So these are the instructions. These are, if anybody who is studying Bhagavad Gita cannot become a pure, trying to become pure devotee of Krishna, he is cannot his all his endeavors are wasted. So if after studying Bhagavad Gita, after studying hearing Bhagavad Katha, if um, one doesn't come to conclusion that without Krishna's grace my life is nothing, then their life is actually nothing. They're just going to go through the repeated cycle of birth and repeated death without even knowing why they are taking birth and why they are dying. Very miserable condition that these people have. 1859, Krishna says, Yad ahankaram ashritya no yotsya iti manyase amithya esha vyavasayaste prakritim swa niyokshiti. Very beautiful verses. Yad ahankaram ashritya, अहंकार का, अपने अहंकार का आश्रय लेके न योत्स्य इति मन्ये, अगर आपने कहा कि I will not fight, I don't want to fight. So by listening to Krishna's instructions versus listening to my own ahankara's instructions, my ahankar is telling me not to fight, but Krishna is telling me to fight. So Krishna says, having taken ashray of your ahankar, if you choose not to fight, mithya esha vyavasayaste prakritim swa niyakshati. So you will still be engaged in warfare because because of your nature, because you are a kshatriya, you will be forced to fight a war. So it's a destroy. It will destroy your will. It's much against your desire. You may end up fighting also. So fight as per my instruction. Fight as a service to me. ईश्वर सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशे अर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यंत्रारूढ़ानि मायया. That Ishvara is situated, that Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and he's directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on the machine made by the material energy. Yantra Rudhani Maya. Maya is Krishna's separated energy, and the yantra made by that Maya, the elements of that Maya, is what our body is. And who is sitting there? Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Ruddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. That Ishvara Ruddeshe, in the region of your heart, is situated that Ishvara as Paramatma. Along with the Atma, there is a Paramatma who is seated in your heart and he is directing all the wandering. Very beautiful verse. Manyana, Manmana, then the 64, then 65, Manmana Bhavaman Bhakto, Madhyaji. Sorry, we missed this. Tameva Sharanam Vacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata, Tad Prasada Param Shantim Sthanam Prapsasi Shashratam. So that Ishvara, go surrender to him, that Ishvara. And by his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and supreme and eternal abode. Itite jnanam akshyatam guhyata guhyataram maya vimrushaite the asheshena yatha ichhasi tatha kurum. Another beautiful. Now this is the most supreme, most confidential guhyata guhyataram maya. It's the most confidential knowledge, confidential amongst confidential. That I have already spoken to you. So think over it, deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. Now, seeing Arjuna confused, he's saying, Sarva Guhyatamam Guhyah Shunu me Paramam Vaja, Ishto Sime Dridhamiti Tato Rakshyami Te Hitam. I'm determined to love you, O Arjuna. I'm speaking this out of my love for you. So up to 63, Arjuna's the Krishna's instructions were concluded when he says Vimru Shaite the Ashesheno Yatha Ichhasi Tatha Kuru. Now you deliberate over whatever I have spoken so much so far and think about it and then do as you wish to do. Now seeing Arjuna confused at this stage, seeing Arjuna is deliberating too much on whatever he has heard right from chapter 1 to chapter 2 to chapter 18, Krishna becomes very merciful to Arjuna. Out of love, Krishna speaks this 64th verse, that because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me. Now comes the two beautiful verses, 6. Bandhana bhavan bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mam veshyasya satyante pratijane priyosine. Always think of me, man mana bhava mad bhakto. In the 18.61-62, he says, Tvameva sharanam gacha. That go and surrender to that Ishvara. Now he is revealing here again. He has already revealed in past Bhagavad Gita that he is that Ishvara. In the 15th chapter especially, where he established himself as that Ishvara. Uh, and now he's again revealing to Arjuna that Manmana, that think of me because I am that Ishvara. Uh, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are very dear friend of me. Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami nashucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And in this purpose, beautiful verse Prabhupada is given from uh, where he is explaining the Shadvidha Sharanagatihi. Shadvidha Sharanagati, the 6 type of surrender. What are those? Anukulyasya Sankalpaha, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, Rakshasiyo iti Vishwaso, Gopatrave Varnanam, Tatha, Atma Nikshepa, आणि कर्पण्ये. षडविधा शरणागती, कर्पण्य भाव, आत्मनिक्षेप भाव, गोपत्रत्वे वर्णनम, and rakshasiyati vishwasa, pratikulyasa varjanam, whatever is unfavorable bhakti, reject. Anukulyasa sankalpa, whatever is favorable to bhakti, accept. Now these 6 type of sharanagati, these 6 activities lead us to sharanagati. And how does Arjuna respond? Arjuna respond by saying, Nato moha smritir gabdva, gabdha tat prasadam maya chuta sthitosmi gata sandeha parishya vachanam tada. Arjuna said, oh fallible Achyuta, my illusion is now gone. I have gained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and prepared to act according to your instructions. So any instruction, any commentary on Bhagavad Gita who does not lead to this conclusion spoken by Arjuna is not correct commentary. It is not commentary received in proper parampara. This is what we have to come to conclusion. Our conclusion should not be different than Arjuna's conclusion. Our instructions, the final instructions coming to us should not be different than what instruction Lord Krishna gave in these final verses of Bhagavad Gita. And they have to be understood in the right way, literal way, as explained by Srila Prabhupada by his mercy. And that if you study other Bhagavad Gitas, they don't speak the same way. Therefore, they're by studying Bhagavad Gita, by writing those Bhagavad Gitas, also those writers also could not become pure devotees of Lord Krishna. Not to speak of readers. What is the condition of readers? That's all pathetic. So one has to become pure devotee of Krishna. One has to surrender into me, to Krishna, and one has to, uh, follow the instructions of Krishna. And by that, by Krishna's grace, by Krishna's prasad, by Krishna's mercy, one may advance in bhakti, in the process of bhakti. And that time, one may develop a vision, by which one is able to see things properly, see things with reference to the scriptures. Prabhupada writes towards the end of this section, according to the Bhagavad Gita 18.54, the one who is already on the liberated platform, Brahma Bhuta, the same Brahma Bhuta Prasanna verse, which we discussed earlier, can become an Uttama Adhikari devotee and see every living being as his own brother. This vision cannot be had by politicians who are always after some material gain. One who imitates the symptoms of an Uttama Adhikari may serve another's outward body for the purpose of fame or material rewards, but he does not serve the spirit soul. Such an imitator can have no information of the spiritual world. The Uttamadhikari sees the spirit soul within the material body and serves him as spirit. Thus, the material aspect is automatically served. So Manav Seva, that is the aspect, the material aspect is automatically served. So when one is serving the body, one is serving the soul, uh, one is obviously taking care of the body as well, because one cannot serve soul independently without caring for the body. So when the devotees take care of other people's soul, they say that the soul is important and soul should be taken care of, it is not, nobody means it that it should be done at the cost of curing our body. That should not be the case, and that's what is clarified over here, saying that the material aspect is automatically served. But however, if one focuses only on taking care of material aspects without caring to take care of the spiritual aspect, then whatever, no matter how much of philanthropic work one may do, it goes as waste. No matter how many hospitals you may end up opening, and it doesn't matter how many people you may end up feeding. If it is not prasad, it's useless. If that hospital does not have a Lord Jagannath's temple, Sri Prabhupada deity, and everyone doesn't take blessings from Lord, if there is the doctors serving there are not pure devotees of Lord, then such philanthropy, even if it is offered, it leads to no spiritual elevation by the people. So such people may continue to assert the yoni janmasu. But this is the biggest danger that people have. And if you speak with people, they don't even know that such danger exists. So we have to speak of taking preventive action for stopping this from happening. They just can't see the danger. So obviously they don't take any action. But that's what the whole effort devotee is, to make them sensitize, inform them about what potential dangers that exist in the world, and help ourselves and then help others become Krishna conscious and eventually move to Krishna. We'll summarize. We're speaking about developing spiritual vision to see the God, to understand Krishna by our own intelligence is impossible, but when He will reveal to us, then it is possible. For Him to be able to reveal to us, uh, we have to perform sadhana bhakti, we have to perform devotional service, and by performing of devotional service, we will develop equal vision. This is just a byproduct of our devotional service. We will see Paramatma, Krishna in the heart of every living entity. We will be able to see every living entity as supreme, as part and parcel of separated part and parcel of Supreme Lord. And then we'll see everyone as one. However, we will deal with everyone as it is required to be done, because at a material level, we'll have to deal with people as well. So, so we, so the unity that we will be discussing in the next session in more detail is more of an internal matter, internal affair. It's not external. So a soul exists in a dog's body, a cow's body, and a tiger's body as well. However, we may have a pet dog. We may go and embrace a cow, but we can't go and embrace a tiger. So the tiger also has a spiritual spark. Tiger also has super soul sitting in the body along with the soul. But we can't. But when reciprocating, we have to deal with based on the external characteristics of the body. So if a tiger in the soul in the tiger's body will act like a tiger, so we can't. So even if we see him as a soul, as a part and parcel, separated part and parcel of Krishna, we don't deal with him as if we would deal with a cow. So that material distinction, because of the material variety, will exist, and we'll have to consider that in while interacting with those living entities. So, the conclude as a summary, developing spiritual vision is a continuous work in progress. It's not overnight job. we need to start by seeing God at least in temple. And this is at a Kanishta Vikari level, and we are all on that level. We started with coming to temple because we thought uh, there is God. God's present. God is present in this temple. Jagrut Devasan. There are many things that we say that here the God is more available to our petition. He's responding to our petition. So that we go to temple thinking God is present in the temple, but we are unable to reciprocate with the devotees, and we behave as if we don't care about devotees. We have no business with devotees. So this is a prakruta level or a kanishta level, or the lowest level amongst all devotees. We progress in association by taking association from devotee. We can progress to madhyama vikari. And Prabhupada wanted everybody to at least come to a platform of madhyama vikari, if not common. And Madhyamadikari, they understand that God's presence is there in the temple, but also I have to respect and love the things which are things and people who are in connection with God, who are connected to God. So the pure devotees are already loving and serving God, the same Krishna. So by serving those pure devotees, we get mercy from Krishna. Krishna becomes pleased with us because he's already we are serving such devotees who are serving Krishna, and Krishna is having wonderful reciprocal exchanges with such devotees. So, and by if we help such devotees in any way, we also become Krupa Patra. We become eligible to receive Krupa from Lord Krishna. So that way, so that we can progress in our own individual sadhana bhakti. So that is the rule of a Madhyama Adhikari. Madhyama Bhakta differentiate each of the type of devotee, and he becomes judgmental at times. When he's a pure devotee, then he will be eager to love and serve them. He's eager to love and serve Krishna. Then if amongst devotees he become friend, and amongst the new devotees, neophytes, they he becomes merciful. He becomes their guide. He becomes their mentor. And towards those who are envious people, atheist people, he ignores their comments. He ignores them completely, so that uh, their bhakti is not their. If one is envious of Krishna, more one talk to him about Krishna's glorification, his envy towards Krishna increases, which means his path of returning to Krishna becomes more and more harder and difficult. So devotee simply ignores such a atheist person or non-devotee, and go about doing what they best do. The and at that time, that's how they progress in the devotional service. Uttama Adhikari don't see materially at all, but see everything in connection with Krishna as Krishna's energy. So Uttama Adhikari, Prabhupada writes that actually comes to Madhyama level to preach, because at this level he finds it very difficult to preach because he see everything as in connection with Krishna. So he has to come down to at times the Madhyama level to preach to people. So we have the last. We should know that oneness as a spiritual core is, but we should know the oneness of the spiritual as a spiritual core, as a spirit soul. For each living entity is a spirit soul, and that's how. In that sense, they are one, but there are variations. There are differences at a body level, and we should average but variety in the external consciousness, external bodily consciousness level, but everyone can still be engaged in progressing towards Krishna. That is possible. No, that cannot be stopped, no matter what are your bodily inclinations, what are your bodily complexions. We all can start progressing in become accept bhakti, and we can progress towards it. So these are activities for the pleasure of Guru Maharaj. Japa in the morning and the reading of Sri Prabhupada book in the evening. All of you are hope all of you are taking part of these. It should take, if not taken. So we'll see if anybody has any brief questions, or else we can end today's session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for inspiring us on this. This is rather even the disappearance of Vaishnavas is auspicious only, but as you mentioned that it is a seemingly great loss because of the non-availability of that kind of association. But through the disciples, actually Maharaj is very much available, and as you truly mentioned that in that how we can actually serve him in much and much better way. So ultimately, you have given solace to the actually the saddened mind, and even the more good perspective to move further in our devotional life. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for giving this kind of session and enhancing our consciousness more and more to serve the instructions of Maharaj, and in this way serving the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Dandavat
Thank you
Pranam.
so much, Rajiv. Let's continue with our prayers. Let's continue to be in a prayerful mood for the pleasure of Maharaj. Let's start with him, his devotees, and let's try to serve him, serve his mission, serve God's mission in any way we can, and that will be progress to us. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We'll meet next Sunday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Shri
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada ki jai. Jagannatha Prabhu Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji.